Ladies and gents, welcome back. We are not getting enough information from the news media about a lot of these stories. We're getting stories about forest fires all over the place and reasons for why they're happening. We don't get many articles about when it comes to the arson that takes place in some of these events. But above all, we hear about states of emergency and people's homes being lost, but we don't ever hear actual stories from the people there. I had Sharon on the other week to talk about what was going on in the Shuswap region. We had a video that made a lot of rounds on social media talking about this, so clearly people want to hear about it. And I thought, hey, let's get somebody else to talk about what was happening. And today I have Rose joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, I'm so honored.
So you live in the Shuswap area and you went through this whole ordeal, the fires and all of the things that happened surrounding this whole situation. Were you there at the time when it all kind of kicked off?
Yes, I live up in Magna Bay, and so yeah, it was kind of like right down Meadow Creek, which is like 15 or so minutes from me. And yeah, it was something else to be and witness.
Well, yeah, I can imagine it's something that's completely transforming your landscape in your region. So
Yeah.
question here is a lot of stuff happened and we're going to get into all of the police stuff, but first and foremost, how did you find out about the fire? And there was a state of emergency declared in British Columbia. Were you aware of that right away, like when that happened?
No, actually. So me and my mom decided because one of our family friends went up Meadow Creek just to have a look around, make sure like there were no spot fires or anything like that. And she came home just crying and so upset. She's like, there's a fire, like so close to us. And so me and my mom later that night, we decided to go check it out ourselves. Um, and yeah, it was a fire coming right over the mountain, huge and big. And so we ended up talking to one of our local firefighters, and uh, he was like, they haven't put out a statement yet, but you guys should leave. Like we've already told our families to leave. It's that serious. And we were like, well, where's BC Wildfire Services? And I guess at 5 they came that day, looked at it, and were like, no, it's fine. Like it's not that serious. And they turned around and they left the our locals to hold off the fire the entire night. They were going to come the next day, even though, again, I think they should have put the order out that night, and I think they also should have been there fighting the fire.
Yeah, no kidding. And then obviously British Columbia declares a state of emergency. We got this here, and this happened on November 17th, 2020. This is not the right article, but they declared a state of emergency for this. Now, subsequently, this has been lifted. As of today, actually. And this is funny because you're learning about this just now. This hasn't been
Yeah,
something that has been told to you and your family and the people in your
no.
region. Um, what has it been like for communication with the government? Because the government came down pretty heavy-handed, and we're gonna talk about that. But how has it been for communication for what you should be doing, what you could be doing, or what you must be doing?
To be honest, like my mom made a great point when I was talking with her about the whole thing, that they should have had like one person that was getting the intel from the firefighters and constantly like a site that you could easily go to and see the updates of what's happening like constantly, and it's constantly getting updated, because at first we kind of knew nothing. We were kind of in the dark. Like the order didn't get put out till the fire was already at everybody's doorsteps. And so the communication was just absolutely horrible. Getting a hold of them was tough. All of that was just not good whatsoever.
Yeah, it's insane. And then when it took off, like you were told you were you eventually told you should leave by authorities, or was that just your family said get out?
We just, again, when we went up and we saw like that the fire was getting close, we were like, I think it's time to go. There was no, once we got through the fire, that's when I got a notification on my phone that our area was getting an evacuation order, which I was like, We just drove through like one of the most fires on both sides. There was a vehicle on fire. Like it was terrifying and traumatic. And we just went through that. And you're just now putting out the order after what all our locals just had to drive through or stay through.
Now, a lot of people are interested about the story because of well, there was a short that I put out, and it got a lot of attention on social media, a few million views on Instagram, a few 100,000 here on YouTube, and also on TikTok. Now, this is the video, and I'm going to play this for the audience to see. But this was the situation as it was unfolding with the cops and all of that right in town. The people of Shuswap, British Columbia, Canada are no strangers to fighting wildfires on their own, but this time they've been met with RCMP blockading the roads.
So I'm going to be arrested if I go across that bridge? Why are we wasting these resources right now on this?
That's just the way it is.
Like, you don't understand. Like, yeah, save your house, but when that bush is behind and I can run out there with a shovel and buckets of water and put out 30 spot fires in a day when I
save that old lady's house,
I can save 10 people's houses.
Not only have they restricted their travel, but in some areas they've shut off the water.
Somebody on Facebook or Instagram could tell me why there's no water in the water hydrant. Anytime it's because of power, it's possible, but I'm very, very suspicious.
And we're led to believe that authorities have our best interest at heart. So this was the scene in Shuswap. Now you live in the region. What do you remember of this situation?
To be honest, it was all clumped together. Like the first few days when the fire was getting pretty close, I didn't sleep at all for the first till we left, basically. And even the night we left, I didn't sleep whatsoever. Yeah, it was stressful. My grandpa stayed behind and he was helping make little makeshift fire trucks and stuff like that. And yeah, it was definitely traumatic, I think, for everybody that stayed there, and just very stressful for my family and everybody else that was out here.
So it's pretty heavy-handed orders from the cops. We're hearing stories about roads being blocked, people not being allowed to go back and forth. I heard one story where a guy had a truck full of water, and the police ordered him to dump the water out and then go back to his house instead of being able to take it with him. Did you witness any of this stuff or hear about any of these stories from people who you know around the area?
I didn't hear about that specific story. But again, I wouldn't put it past, after seeing what the RCMP was doing in our area, I wouldn't put it past that they would have done something like that.
So there was also, we heard stories about spikes put across the highway, and food as well, not being allowed to be brought in. People, I even heard stories of people boating across at night so that they couldn't get busted trying to bring supplies and food and stuff like this.
That definitely happened.
Now, the excuse they're giving is that people were trying to steal stuff, and I can understand, in a city, if there was an emergency situation, there's a lot of people who don't know each other, big population, that's possible. But you live in a small town, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm guessing that you guys all pretty much know each other.
Yeah, everybody's a tight-knit community. So basically, if the RCMP wanted to know who, even if there was things being stolen, we know out here who's stealing stuff, or in general, who's not the best people out here. And if the RCMP, we could have given them the address to go to the house to check out the house and stuff. We are not a community where we steal whatsoever. And again, the people that are out here that can be a little shady at times, we know where they are. We know their names. We know where they live. We know all that stuff. So,
interesting thing, and this kind of brings this up to my attention here, is that I've noticed a trend in my community in British Columbia, and I don't live in a big town, but nobody really knows the cops anymore. I remember when I was growing up, you kind of knew the police that kind of policed your area, And it seems like it's always just strangers. What's your recollection of that in general? Like, do you know any of the police officers in town? Are they like well-known people?
Well, not all, but I know we have a few people out here that have tempers and big personalities, and we know that those people are friends with the cops. They're not friends, but know who they are, and like when they're getting a call, they're like, okay, I know who this is and stuff. So
Right. So
yeah.
okay, Jim, we know you had
Yeah.
a bit of whiskey tonight. Okay, I get
Yeah.
it. Okay, so that's fair. But in a situation like this, we've got all these RCMP that aren't familiar with the region. We've also got firefighters that
yeah.
aren't familiar with the region. And lots of people are just wanting to come out and help out. And of course, things are scattered and things are strange, and people don't know what to do. So they're relying on the forestry services. At one point, they left out of retaliation for some convoy or something. Do you know anything about this outer towners that came in to try to support freedom for the Shuswap people?
It was messed up watching it because the convoy was all the way in Sorrento, which is like 45 minutes from me or so, like that. And yeah, so the convoy was all the way over there, and they were threatening to pull back the firefighters here. Like, why are you doing that? And then they put out the statement, it's because they felt in danger. But again, that's 45 minutes away. And there was a whole group of cops. I think more cops, than there was people. And there was not a lot of people. So it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're in danger? You feel threatened? Like, nobody's doing anything out here. So it was very disheartening to see. And also just with the people that came to the convoy, it was a little upsetting because we were just starting to make leeway and just starting to, be able to get away with just this tiniest bit of stuff. And then the convoy happened and they're like, oh, this is too dangerous. We got to pull our troops back and all this stuff. So, yeah.
Well, that's upsetting because, I mean, obviously people are worried about our freedoms in this country. And when they see people being subjugated, locked in their homes, told that they can't get food, supplies, all of these things, people get upset. And I think it's, I kind of empathize with the people and what they're after. If it caused more trouble, that's another story, of course, altogether. But, we've got to be mindful in these situations. Like, we're not trying to help and then actually exacerbating a situation entirely. Now, I do understand that later the fire services were able to start communicating with locals and then actually start being able to fight some of these fires, correct?
Yeah, which was really great. It was amazing. I was so thrilled that was happening because, like, that's all we were asking to do. Like, we weren't asking to come in and, we weren't trying to do anything but help. We just wanted to help. And we knew with especially the night that the fire hit everything or the next day, they left, they abandoned us. And so we knew that they obviously needed our help. And so we were really grateful that they were finally starting to open things up to help. And I also think that it's going to make maybe not a crazy change, but it's the right step in a change of allowing that to happen and stuff, especially in small communities like ours.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I've been in situations where there's an emergency, and in a small community, everyone just they're jumping up to help. They're not jumping up to steal and do bad things. They're jumping up to help. And I'm imagining that your community is largely the same. A lot of great people, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So does it look like we're seeing the end of this anytime soon? I know that fires can smolder on for a long time, but does it look like we're in the clear at this point?
I mean, we're trying to go back. I mean, at least for me, and I know other people were trying to go back to regular life as best as we can, but still, even you wake up in the morning and there's like smoke you can see, and there are still in Sorrento's fires burning up Meadow Creek behind my house. Like, there are still fires, which I do find it's a little funny because they were like, oh my God, you can't come back home. It's dangerous, the fires. But then, like, you come and see. And when you get back home and there's still fires going on, like none of it has, I mean, it's toned down a little bit, and I don't think it's going to grow too much, but also that's in the amazing works of our community and the loggers, like cutting down trees and making areas so the fire can't continue to grow. But yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that things are looking better. They're looking better for sure. Is there you have any social media that you'd like to plug and let everybody know where you're at?
Not really. I'm just kind of around, you know.
Okay.
Don't really have social medias or anything.
Fair enough. Small town crews, small town sort of mentality. I like it. I like it a lot. It's nice to unplug sometimes, and sometimes it's better to have not plugged in at all. So thanks for joining me today, and thanks for the update on what's happening with the shoe swap.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so happy to especially be talking with you, somebody that's been spreading like actual factual information and talking with the locals. So yeah.
Well, thank you.